Another irrelevant Drake beef, 50 Cent's penis, and are we romanticizing the past? Today on The Outline.
Yeah, outline. Yeah. With Kevin Dwayne. Yeah, outline. Yeah. With Kevin Dwayne. Yeah. This is the outline. With Kevin Dwayne. Kevin Dwayne. Kevin Dwayne. With Kevin Dwayne.
Yo, what's up, you guys? It's The Outline with Kevin Dwayne. I don't know what it is about this mic, but every week I want to sing 7 Whole Days by Toni Braxton. Like, I'm serious, full out. Darling, darling, if you knew anything about love, you would have been front and center. But let me stop. But it's just something about this mic. I think because it looks kind of old school, but whatever. I digress. Thank you so much for joining me this week on The Outline. This has become my favorite part of the week. I am so happy to record these every week. So thank you for listening to them and supporting them. I still see the great comments. I still see the ratings, and please continue to do so. Remember, I am on SoundCloud. I'm on YouTube. I'm on iTunes. I'm on Google Play Music. I'm on Stitcher. And you can even go to my website, kevindwayne.com, to listen to these every week. Make sure you subscribe and continue to share these with your friends. I truly, truly, truly appreciate it. So are you guys watching Power? I love Power. Right now, my Saturday night on the Stars app, you can watch all the Sunday shows, and I always have to watch Power and Survivor's Remorse. They're both great shows for different reasons, but Power is so good this season. The first episode, maybe even the second episode of this season, were kind of slow in my opinion, but it's picked up like so much to the point that I cannot wait for it to come on now. Nobody can stand Holly's ass. We waiting for her to get got because she's just doing way too much. Tommy is still in his awkward stage of wanting to kill ghosts, which I get. I don't need any more sex scenes from him though. I swear his scenes where he's having sex makes it look like he's in pain. It's the funniest thing ever. I'm like, man, they need to get him some drugs or something. It just looks so crazy. He looks like he's grunting like he's about to die and have a heart attack. And I'm like, is that how he actually looks when he has sex? I don't know. But this week, there's been this whole, I won't even say it's not that much drama with it, but 50 Cent is supposedly mad at the creator, Courtney Kemp, because they show his penis in one scene where he's like masturbating for this girl. And it was weird to me because I thought that it was like fake. I didn't think it was like a real penis, but I did think it was kind of an interesting way of portraying it on film. But here's the thing. If you're acting, why even pull it out? Like, he signed a waiver, according to Courtney. Like, you signed a waiver like everybody else. And we know he did because everybody else in the damn show is naked. Everyone's naked all the time, like every week. This is just 50 Cent's first time going around it, you know? And 50 Cent is no stranger to nudity anyway. I mean, and Get Rich or Die Trying years ago, he got naked. Another movie he was in, he got naked. Like, this is nothing new. Now, granted, I didn't know that was his actual penis, which I was like, wow, that's something to think about. I really just thought it was like in Boogie Nights with Mark Wahlberg, when he pulled out the fake penis. I remember he got an award from MTV. I thought that was the same situation, like you held a dildo or something, like it was not your actual penis. But 50 Cent was supposedly mad because he said his aunt can't watch the show. And I'm like, listen, if your aunt has seen your bare ass and she's been watching this show with all this violence and all this sex, she will survive from seeing the head of your penis. You're just being super sensitive about something that I feel you knew about. It seems like it's more or less publicity for the show. There's no way in hell he didn't know that. You pulled your dick out during a scene and they used it. I don't understand where the surprise is. If you were really concerned about it, you would have not pulled it out. And that's just kind of how I view it. I posted the story on my Facebook, and I had to kind of unfollow the post because the comments became the typical stuff. It seems like anytime there's frontal nudity by a male, people start discussing how big they think their penis is. And I think that's a little dumb because penises are very interesting things to try to judge from a quick shot. You know, there's people who are growers and not showers, and the shot was way too quick to decide whether or not he had a big dick or not. And so the commentary is a little draining in my opinion. Everyone's like, oh, it's not that big, oh, it's girthy, oh, it's this. And I'm like, you guys, the shot was all of like 2 seconds. There's no way in hell you can tell me how big his full penis is, and why are we even discussing this? We do it all the time. Anytime there's like a side chick who's angry at a basketball player and she posts the picture on Media Takeout or whatever, it's always this discussion of how big the penis actually is. And I'm like, until it's in your face and you about to go down or do whatever you're gonna do, you'll never know. It was a quick shot. We don't know if the man was hard. We don't know if he was soft. We don't know any of that. So I don't see why we're even having these conversations. But like I said last week, some things are just expected among people. So I had to unfollow the post because I'm like, why are we discussing this? Like, we don't know. It was a quick shot. Hell, I thought it was fake. I don't know. Who cares? But Power itself is really good this season. I love Anika Noni Rose's character. I knew she was a great actress, but this role really is amazing because it shows a different side of her. Like, she is playing the hell out of this character. And I remember when they announced it, she got a royal side eye from everybody. Like, what the hell is she gonna play in Power? But listen, she is telling you right now, like, no, I came to slay. And she's doing just that. I love her character. I love everything about it because it seems so opposite of who she is as a person. But the season's really good. If you haven't checked out Survivor's Remorse, check that show out too. It's really good. I will say, since Mike Epps' character was killed off, it's not quite the same, but they're still carrying on very well. I do miss his character, but I think he may have played himself. The legend has it that he was asking for more money because he had Uncle Buck coming up, but they went ahead and said, no, that's a negative. And they killed his character off. And so he's no longer on the show. And they kind of played him for 2 episodes. They just made his past seem so sordid. I was like, oh, they played you. And the sad thing about it is Uncle Buck got canceled in his first season. So I'm like, damn, what you gonna do now, Mike? Like, it's a terrible situation all around, especially when he was such a good piece of the show. I thought he was a good person to blend with the main character Cam and also Tashina Arnold's character. Like, he was a great person to kind of counteract all of them. He really brought the comedy. Whereas the sister does too, and so does Tashina Arnold's character, but he just added a different kind of element that is truly missed. But I do still enjoy the show because they hit great topics. Like this last week, it was talking about how words are misconstrued in media. Like, you can say one thing and mean something different, and then somebody else who's trying to get put on will say you're saying something different. And it was just really, it was a good episode. And every week I feel like they tackle really good issues, and I appreciate that. So check out Survivor's Remorse and Power. They're both on Stars. They come on Sunday nights, I believe, but if you have the subscription or the app, you can see that shit on Saturday night and watch it and go about your business on Sunday like I do, or you can just wait and just watch it on Monday, whatever. But they're both really good shows, so check them out. So Drake has, yet again, and I don't know what it is, why people continue to come for Drake. And the thing about Drake right now, he's kind of in his peak Jay-Z mode where he's almost untouchable in a sense. Like, people really don't care about his beefs like that because they're going to keep going to his concerts, just going to keep buying his music. So it almost kind of makes you roll your eyes when you see the Meek Mills and the Joe Buttons and the Funkmaster Flex. You be like, listen, like, you guys are really salty. And this is my opinion. I feel like it's all this whole salty thing because he's not a traditional rapper. And, you know, they deem him soft. And then there's a whole idea that he might be, you know, having a ghostwriter, which I don't really care enough to even realize or even come to the conclusion if I believe it or not. I enjoy Drake's music. I think he has some fuckboy lyrics. Sometimes they're kind of like misogyny hitting that sensitivity. Like, I don't like his whole good girl complex, like the whole idea that, oh, good girls should stay home, and when I'm with you, you good, but when you not with me, you a hoe. I don't like that part of him, but that's rap music in general. He just hides it in sensitivity. So I'm like, okay, that's what you do. Cool. But I still enjoy elements of his music. I think he's a good artist. This latest album is okay, but it's going to be his most commercially successful, it looks like. But I don't think it's his best work. But I think it's just kind of how it rolled out because of his fame is what's selling it. I don't think it's his best work, though. But at the same time, I don't understand the beefs. Like, it all seems like jealousy to me. Anytime somebody's on top of their game, there's always people who you haven't heard from in forever who try to take them down. But I don't really buy the ghostwriting thing, to be honest, because his music's been consistent since the mixtape days. It hasn't really changed. And I'm like, well, if you got a ghostwriter at this point, damn. Or if you had them this whole time, they must be well paid. I think he's writing it because it's pretty consistent. And then it's just, why? Like, Funkmaster Flex, he's on the radio, cool, but he has a list of reasons why he don't like him. A lot of people feel like he doesn't deserve what he has, but you can't stop consumers from buying music. You can't stop them from going to shows because they've already decided who they like. And these beefs never work against them. Like, people typically don't care. Like, even when Nas and Jay-Z had their beef years ago, like, Nas fans didn't stop being fans of his, and the same with Jay-Z. Like, it was just a beef. So why try? Just let it go. Let him get his money, which you guys aren't gonna let him do, but who cares? Like, who cares? Like, this seems so irrelevant because he's still on tour, he's still making money, he's still one of the top rappers out right now. Girls still want to trap him. Some niggas too. So that is that. In random white people news, there was a picture that Lance Bass posted of, I guess they were all celebrating JC's birthday from NSYNC. He's 40. I'm so tired of feeling old, you guys. Like, I'm so over having these reminders that I am getting older. I am 30. And looking at NSYNC celebrate their 40th birthdays and all this shit is crazy to me because it reminds me of my older siblings, looking at New Edition and New Kids on the Block and all those people. And I'm like, this is how you guys were with them. And now here we are going to reunion tours like Bad Boy and seeing Jagged Edge and seeing all these people on tour. And it's nothing but old heads. And we are the old heads. Like, it's crazy to me. So seeing that picture of all 5 members of NSYNC celebrating together, I was like, God damn. Even JT was there looking old because, white people don't age the same as us because, that melanin is lacking. And I was like, damn, JT, you looking old. And I think he's like 35, 36. So, yeah, it's crazy because we're all aging. They call us the aging millennials because now the 80s babies are over 30 or almost over 30. So it's crazy. So that was what I noticed the last few days, really, in social media and what's been trending. I'm sure there's some other stuff out there, but I haven't really been checking it all out. I think self-care has been important for me. I've been listening to a lot of music and chilling, and we can talk about that later on because I want to check in with you guys from last week's mental health moment where I asked you guys to change your Mondays up. So I hope you guys had great Mondays. But the main topic, the table topic this week, is about the past and romanticizing the past. What I notice a lot with people of today, there is this weird idea that we are all becoming worse as people, that the future generations are only becoming worse. Racism is worse today. People aren't as monogamous today. There's all this stuff. And factually, I feel like that is flawed. I feel like we romanticize the past to try to make it seem like today's generations are the ones who are fucked up. And it's simply not true. And I think you have to consider certain factors. I, for one, believe that nothing is different today. Human behavior has not changed since the dawning of time. Human behavior has been the same since the beginning. The only thing that has changed is technology and our access to expose the human behavior. That's it. Nothing has changed. Last week I posted, and I meant this with all my heart. I was like, you guys have to stop pretending like cheating and side chicks is a new thing. It's not a new thing. Just check Ancestry.com. I remember my mom used to get on Ancestry.com and she would find out so much stuff about, people in our family, extended family who had kids by other women and they lived like miles apart, or they'd be on the same street, or it'd be around the corner. And back then, you didn't find out your grandpappy or whatever had another family until the funeral, because wait, why y'all calling him daddy? Why y'all calling him daddy? This is like especially a joke, like in the Black community too. Like you just didn't know because we didn't have social media. We didn't have ways of exposing it. But this isn't anything new. Side chicks have been around since the beginning. Side dudes, cheating is nothing new. The only difference now is we have ways of catching people up with it. Social media is tricky, phones are tricky, technology is tricky. It's a lot harder to get away with things now. So we expose it and it's in our face all the time in reality shows, and we're constantly seeing it. So we think this is like a concept of today, but in reality, it's not. It's been going on since the beginning, and we can't romanticize the past. Something else that I want to consider when it comes to relationships, I see a lot of memes on Instagram, like, oh, I want to love like my grandparents, and I want that old love back in the day where people were together for 15 and 20 and 30 and 40 years. You don't see that anymore. And what's wrong with this generation? And people don't want that. People are on some new stuff, and I just want to go back in the days. While that is a great ideal, and while it may still be possible, I don't doubt the love of your grandparents. I don't doubt the love of your parents. I don't doubt any of that. But there are still some factors that you have to consider. Number one, let's think about divorce. Do you know that divorce wasn't like fully like legal, like to the point that a woman or a man could go and file into like 1969, the Divorce Reform Act? You could get divorced before, but you had to prove like there was like a drug problem. You had to prove there was infidelity. You had like, especially women, they had to hop through a lot of hoops to get divorced from men back then. It wasn't until 1969 when the Divorce Reform Act happened that you can get out of an unhappy marriage. And that wasn't that long ago, you guys. So consider that. So maybe that's why people were in relationships longer, because they couldn't get out. Think about alimony. Alimony rules were different. So you couldn't get support if you got out of said marriages. Think about feminism. Working wages for women. Women couldn't work for the longest time. And then they weren't making enough money to support themselves and their children. Child support was different. So we consider, my great-grandparents, they were married for however many years. Sure, they loved each other. Sure, they worked things out. But some of them motherfuckers had to. They didn't have any choice. They had to stay in that shit, because how are they going to support themselves? Marriage is still business. Love is a big factor, but it is still business. How are they going to support themselves? Now we have more independence. We have women making more money. We have ways of getting out of marriages quicker. We have these things because they're needed to be independent. Also, having kids out of wedlock is not taboo anymore. There was once upon a time where that was taboo. You had a shotgun marriage if you had a kid, because that was just what you did. And marriage was expected of everyone. We're just in a different time now where we're not afraid to be independent. And so while your grandparents may have been together for 80 years, kudos to them. I'm sure they love each other. I'm sure it was all peaches and rainbows. That's some bullshit. Some things happened. They just didn't tell you about it. And that is another thing. You didn't get in grown folks' business. I'm sure there are things that happened in my family that I didn't know about because I was a kid, and they never were going to tell me. That's just how older generations are. But I feel like we're romanticizing the past because we weren't there, or we're not looking at the time period. We're not looking at the different scenarios that could have happened then versus now. We have this idea that things have always been this way, and it's simply not true. A lot of people stayed in relationships out of survival. And once again, let me say this before you end up in my inbox. I don't doubt that, your forefathers and people that came before you loved each other. I'm sure they did. I don't doubt that they worked things out and they made things work. But what I'm saying is some of them had no choice. They had to make the best of the situation they were dealt, because you couldn't just walk away from a marriage back then. You couldn't just get alimony. You couldn't just get child support. Women couldn't just go and make enough money to live on their own. I mean, once upon a time, you had to get permission from your husband to get your tubes tied or to go on birth control. I mean, if you watch Masters of Sex, you'll see all the things that happened. And this is in recent history. This is not, not even 50 years ago. And that's pretty damn close, So just consider those. I feel like we romanticize that. Not only that, we romanticize like the civil rights movement. When we protest today with Black Lives Matter, or if things get out of hand, there's this idea like, Martin Luther King would have never did this. Malcolm X never would have did this. And I'm like, first of all, you weren't there. Second of all, motherfuckers turned up then too. Just because your history book doesn't say that, don't think it didn't happen. Why? Because human behavior hasn't changed. Only recording has. We just see everything now. We don't see the selected black and white photos. We see everything now. But humans have not changed. So let's not romanticize the past. Like, let's realize that we've come a long way and we're working on things, but a lot of things are still the same. And human behavior is one of them. Let's see, is there anything else that is being romanticized besides the civil rights movement, besides love, I guess feminism? Like, there's so many things that I think get in the way of people just living today and not blaming future generations. I don't think that anyone is doomed. I don't think any generation after us is doomed. I know that our communication styles are different. That's for sure. Especially with technology, we don't talk as much, but occasionally you will meet old souls, people who do want to talk on the phone and people who do want to do things. So I don't think any one generation is doomed. I do think that we are running out of resources. I do think that, like Social Security is going to be a thing that's not going to happen. I'm concerned about my retirement. I really am. Like, I have, my 401k and, my IRAs and all that stuff going, but I'm still concerned. I'm like, I'm 30 now. Am I going to have enough coins in the next, 30 years so I can not work until I'm dead? Or will I, what's going to happen? Because it's not the same as it was when my grandparents, were alive. There's not going to be any Social Security for us. So I am concerned about that. I am slightly concerned about global warming because that is a real thing. But ultimately, as far as human behavior, we're all the same, y'all. There's nothing popping with that. So just be cautious that you're not romanticizing the past. Realize that humans haven't changed that much. Just technology has. Same with racism. I mean, people are like, oh, it's more racist now. These cops are crazy. These cops have been crazy. We just can see it now. And we've been seeing it since Rodney King. It's just more frequent. And now when it's happening, people are going straight online and posting it. And so it's in your face all the time. So it feels like it's worse now, but it's been going on forever. I remember the scene in Selma. If you've seen Selma, there's one scene where I guess in Alabama, they were asking for permission to turn the lights out at a certain point on that street. And then when they turned the lights off, that's when they started abusing all the protesters. They started beating them and shooting them and, really going in. And it broke my heart. And I'm like, this is nothing new because no one saw it. And I think that's also why there's so much strife between whites and blacks, because there's a lot of white people who think, cops are, all cops are good because they're used to being protected by them. They're used to being, they only see them, passing out ice creams. They only see them at their schools. They're not in the neighborhoods where they're patrolling all day and looking for trouble and beating up minorities. They don't see that. So now you're seeing it. You're saying you're recorded. Now, we know that a lot of people are even making excuses for it, which is terrible. How can you see someone shot dead and still say but? How can you see someone die in front of you and be like, but he did this or he did that? Like, no, someone was killed. And I think what we're not understanding, what a lot of white people aren't understanding, or anybody really who's against Black Lives Matter or any person of color, not that what they don't understand is this. Police officers are not judges. They're not the jury. They're there to do is apprehend you and get you to where you can be judged in front of a jury and a judge. You know what I mean? So for them to make this decision to kill you instead of apprehending you like they apprehend other white people, that's not their place, no matter what you do. And until we get an understanding of that, we will get nowhere. But that's not their role. But I didn't mean to go that deep. It seems like every week is always something because this is what's on my heart. But yeah, let's make sure we're not romanticizing the past versus now. And we just see things for what they are and realize that there are certain situations that are different. But once again, human behavior hasn't changed. It's the same. We just have ways of exposing it now. So mental health moment. Last week, I told you guys to take back your Monday. Make your Mondays better. I am very interested to know how that went. If you did it, please let me know. Send that to theoutlinetopics@gmail.com or at me on Twitter. Let me know what you did on Monday to make it, different, to take it back and not feel so bad about it. I'll tell you what I did. I did a lot, actually. I worked, of course. I did my work. But after work, I smoked some hookah. Then I had a drink. And I drew a hot bath. I lit candles all around my bathroom. I played music. I used all the bath salts. I have like these bath salts. Put a little Epsom salt in there. There was like these little crystals and a little bubble bath. Like it was like a cocktail for my bath. But I got out, my skin was all silky smooth. It was dope. Then when I got out of the tub, I read a little bit. I relaxed, listened to some more music, and it was just a really good moment. What did I have for dinner? I'm trying to think if I had leftovers for dinner. So dinner wasn't that spectacular. But what was different was I did the bath. I normally take a shower, but I did the hot bath. I smoked some hookah. And I just really relaxed on a Monday evening. And it really changed the game. So let me know what you guys did. I'm really interested to hear the change up. Let me know. For this week's mental health moment, I want to talk about goals, and I want to talk about just putting them into the universe. What I did today was I got this idea, I think from my friend Christina. I'm not sure. I got to think about it. She'll probably tell me. But this morning, I wanted to put my goals in writing. And I didn't mean like typing, not typing them. I wanted to actually write them with a pen and paper, like in a journal, and kind of manifest it. So I wrote down my goals for the next 22 months. And the reason I did 22 months is because I did this numerology reading, and it was saying that my next 22 months will be very successful. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and take that, and I'm going to use it and planned. I'm going to be proactive and move towards that. So I wrote some goals down, specific goals on this piece of paper. The goals I put were actually very specific to this podcast because this is my main focus right now. So I made very specific goals, and then I also put how I plan to achieve them. And so that's my way of manifesting it. I also took a picture of it and sent it to my friend Christina and my friend Wabi just to kind of put it into the universe. I feel like you want to at least put it out so that it's there, and you also have witnesses when it happens. So I want you guys to do that too. Think of what you want to do in the next 22 months and write it down, pen to paper, make it real. Don't type it. Don't just think it. Write it down on a piece of paper and share it with one person just to kind of put it out into the universe. Meditate if you want, just put it out there just so it's made apparent. And then also put how you plan to work towards that goal daily. daily, something every day to get towards that goal. And that will be our mental health moment for this week, because, you know, self-care is important and we got to make sure we're achieving our dreams and our goals. So check that out, do that, and let me know how it goes. And we'll talk about that next week. Well, here we are at the 30-minute mark. Thank you so much again for listening to The Outline. Remember, please subscribe. Please go and leave your reviews on SoundCloud, on iTunes, on Stitcher, Google Play. I truly appreciate you taking those couple of minutes to do so. Feel free to share this with your friends. That's how the message gets spread. You can take any of my Instagram posts and repost them to your page. Just tag me. I would really appreciate it, because that's how these things grow. Word of mouth. I appreciate all the support. Thank you so much for dedicating your Wednesdays to listening to my podcast. I really love the feedback. I love that you guys are able to connect with me and it feels like a conversation. And until then, I will talk to you guys next week. Thank you so much. Have a great week and an even better weekend. Peace out. Peace out. Peace out.